The way that you ride out on the road in the winter is different in many ways. Firstly, the way you think, also the type of training that you'll be doing, what you'll be wearing, and even the way that you fuel.
On top of all of that though, there are also some subtle differences in the way that you ride and handle your bike, especially when the weather gets particularly bad. So with that in mind, here are 5 essential winter training skills.
In this regard, you've got 2 options. First off, stay indoors in the warm and go on the home trainer, or secondly, venture out into the icy wilderness. Now, if you choose the latter, you need to make sure you're fully prepared, especially in relation to wheel choice and tyre pressure. Now, 25mm tyres are pretty much the go-to tyre width all year round. If you're going to ride in the winter on the icy roads, it might be worth considering moving up to 28mm, just depending on the clearance on your bike, of course.
Yeah, we at GCN would try and recommend not going out in icy conditions if at all possible. However, there are occasions where you set out from your home and it might be slightly colder in the countryside than it was in an urban area, or it's simply that the temperature drops whilst you're out on your ride. Then you might come across some ice, and in this situation there are a couple of things you can do to try and keep yourself safe. Firstly, make sure you keep off the brakes at all costs. You will simply slide if you grab them. Secondly, keep in a straight line as soon as you hit an ice patch. Don't tense up too much, and try to keep on the crown of the road where it's flatter rather than the edge where there is that camber.
Although not exactly the best example today, during the deep winter months, especially in the northern hemisphere, the roads can seem as if they're perpetually wet. So you'll get used to the way that the bike feels and handles out on the roads. Now, one thing to help will be a reduced tyre pressure, but of fundamental importance is the way that you brake.
It's quite simple really. When it's wet, your brakes will not be as efficient. That is unless of course you are riding disc brakes, but even then you'll have less grip between your tyres and the road surface. So you'll still need to allow yourself more time to slow down from a certain speed. So what you want to do is make sure that you keep on looking ahead and scanning for any obstacles that are coming up that you might need to brake for, therefore giving yourself plenty of time. And this is particularly important when it comes to descents or up to corners. Now, we recommend braking before corners enough that you've got speed where you don't have to brake into them in all conditions, but it's particularly important when it's wet, because if you take too much speed into the corner and decide that you have to scrub off some speed within the corner, with the lack of grip on wet roads, what you could find is that you lose grip completely and come off. You might not think about your psychological approach as an essential winter riding skill, but it most certainly is, a very important one in fact. You see, it takes a lot more motivation, more drive and determination to get yourself out on a winter ride, because you'll often be going from a warm, cosy bed on a Sunday morning into damp, showery, thundery or windy conditions outside. So it's very important that you keep yourself fresh and motivated in your mind. And a good way to start that is by making sure that you've had a decent break after the summer or autumn season.
Yeah, add to that having faith and trust in your kit and your bike. Get yourself a training plan in place, and on the odd occasion try going out with another rider for a ride and also in a group. And all of that will help build your confidence so you can really nail the winter. Riding in a group poses more of a challenge in the winter than the rest of the year due to the different dynamics out on the road. Those being the primarily wet and sometimes icy roads that impact greatly on the way that you handle the bike. The skills required to ride in a group in normal conditions are one thing, but once you add other impact factors in, it can be an often tricky affair.
To avoid coming to grief, just ensure you give yourself that little bit more space from the rider in front of you than you would do normally. Then add a bit more space, 2 or 3 bike lengths even, on wet corners and descents. Winter riding means reaction times are slower, so just be alert and be aware.
The light can be far duller in the winter months. Even if you've got no intention of riding in the night time, at some point you're bound to be riding in the gloom of dawn or dusk. So it's even more important to make sure you look up and ahead, because quite often the dark winter roads can hide a multitude of hazards. Now, many of us like wearing sunglasses, so it's a pretty good idea, just like Dan's doing now, to opt for a clear lens, an orange or a yellow lens, just to enhance your vision during those gloomy months. There you have it, 5 essential winter training skills we think are absolutely vital to get you through those winter months.
Now, if you've just got into the sport of cycling, you might want to watch this next video, which is all about essential basic skills for beginners. You can find it just down here. On the other hand, if you're already quite experienced and you want to take things to that next level, make sure you learn how to wheelie. You can do so with myself and Donny from GMBN in the bottom corner there.
That was the most keenest M board I've ever seen.
Yeah, and subscribe.
To subscribe to GCN, click on the globe.
On the globe, yeah, on the globe.
You're mad.